Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Minority Report. My name is Walter,
And I'm Chidizi.
I don't know if you say this thing like they say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I don't know if you say Happy Idahobit. But anyway, this episode is intended to commemorate today, which is the International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia. Idahobit. I hope that in all that we've been doing during this pandemic and the lockdown and the quarantine and the staying at homes and the wearing of the gas masks and the being careful with the people you interact with and all that stuff, and the social distancing, I hope I hope that we have also managed to. I mean, I know this quarantine, this pandemic has put us in a very unique position of dealing with prejudice, and hopefully that's what we want to talk about this episode, and to identify the ways that this pandemic has put us in unique positions regarding the prejudice that we have to deal with in our daily lives, and especially to talk about how it's possible to deal with situations like this as part of our package to you on this day of Idahobit. This past 1 month and some weeks have been rife with news about people who have been, suffering under, when they are boxing with families who are actively homophobic, whether the family knows that they are gay or not. There is this whole thing, this whole sense of, I guess, feeling trapped because you don't have the option of getting out and just leaving, going to school, going to a friend's place.
Outside is closed.
Yes, essentially that. And in keeping safe, this whole stay at home objective has also put LGBTQ people in situations that are sort of like an entrapment. On a day like this, that is designed to acknowledge our efforts to combat homophobia, biphobia, and then transphobia, it's essential to look into how people cope. There was a recent report about the police in Benin State, in actively witch hunting people, the gay community in Benin, where there's like this chain reaction of you catch someone, you make the person confess to his being gay, and then exposing other people who are his friends, and then they use that person to call this person and entrap the person, and they just keep bringing in people. And I remember when I heard that news, it was bothersome because this like everywhere else, most of the civilized world are recognizing this period as a time to be more empathetic and to be more in tune with their humanity, recognizing that we can only make it if we come together and are more compassionate about each other person's struggles and how each other person is faring. But over here in Nigeria, it just feels like people are become more cruel and more wicked, and all these prejudices that where someone has to shit on someone else who's perceived as being on the lower rung of the social ladder than he. In Lagos, there was a lady who was a lesbian lady who was compromised. Her identity as a lesbian was compromised, and the police used her WhatsApp, to target the people in the lesbian WhatsApp group that she was in, and we're just using to railing girls. Why is it that this is a period where you're targeting people? Why is it that this is a period where you have parents, families coming out with so much hate and prejudice against people members of the family who they know cannot escape what the hate that they are extending towards them? How about that? It makes no sense to me.
I suppose ultimately it's all of this comes down to systems. The ability for people to act in certain terrible ways to other people and to have those kind of actions go unpunished and in fact be sustained, I think in many ways it's a reflection of the system. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous, like that it has become a normal thing that we say that policemen in Nigeria are involved in kidnap,
Unlawful arrest.
yeah, and other ways they victimize members of the LGBT community. But in terms of like having to deal with family members, when it comes to this particular topic, I sort of feel like I probably am not in the best position to talk about it personally because it's something I cannot relate with. But then I also think that because of course if you have to deal with family members in this period, it probably means that you're not independent. You don't.
Yeah, but I get. Even though I haven't been in a position where I had to be stuck with family who were actively homophobic. I mean, my sexuality became an issue after I'd grown out of the house. But when I think about situations of people who are with family and quarantining with family and being stuck in situations like this, I remember when, as a growing child, I was weird and I didn't understand why I was so weird, and how even though my family didn't do anything to make me feel accepted, I still felt like I was an exception in the family. And I shared a room with my brothers, and there was this sense of whenever we're in the room and my brothers are playing, I feel very overwhelmed by their sheer presence. Essentially what I'm saying is this is similar in a way, like you're stuck in a place with people who represents something that is stifling to you. And I guess the best way to handle such situations is to look for ways to cope. Things that make you feel a little bit freer, like even in that position, even in that place that feels like it's a cave or that the walls are caving in on you, there's always somewhere in the house where you can find somewhere to escape to or something to escape to. Maybe I remember back then I used to escape into my books. So you find maybe that you read, or you find books to read, or you find movies to watch, or even just talking to someone, having a friend who you can call to vent and to rave and to rant about what you're going through. That also goes a long way to helping.
But I personally also feel like there's a way in which this rhetoric around family, because family can be incredibly toxic in certain situations and all that. But I also feel like there are certain ways in which talking about LGBT people who are dealing with family has sort of like become rhetoric, and we don't really engage with the many permutations that they could possibly be in every situation. And more than anything else, I sort of feel like when you live, for example, if you live in somewhere like Nigeria, which is a society that has little to no protections for LGBT people, right? It's everywhere. It's even outside of the family units. These are things that you have to brush up with, in workplaces. This is something that you constantly have to deal with. And I sort of feel like there has to be a place for dealing with things as opposed to, you can't constantly run away or want to escape into books, even with your family members. There has to be, in some instances, like this is by no means a blanket statement because these things are case by case, but there has to be in some instances, I guess, possibilities where even with family that is close-minded, there's probably a sibling who is probably better for this thing. I just feel like always this sort of rhetoric where it's always you escape, you sort of live. I'm just saying this, but you understand what I mean? Like this is the prevalent narrative.
I get that.
There are two responses to any threatening situations, either fight or flight, and that should always be a choice that people have, and then you make that decision based on where you are. But this whole thing about in instances where you deal with family, like people change.
I get that, but
People
see,
change, and people should also be allowed to change. And if you are going to be invested in making like changes in your relationships with your family and all those sort of things, it would also require some things from you. It would also take some things out of from you. So it's not going to be these sort of things. I think, you know, while we also encourage people to like find their own community and not put up with situations that are, you know, toxic and draining and all of that. Like, it's also important to tell people to look for where it does exist, to also be open to recognizing redemptive qualities in others, in the family and in all what's that, because, you know, when
there are some families, there are families who are entirely prejudiced.
That's fine, but that cannot all families are not going to be that way. Okay. So I just feel like there has to be some nuance in these conversations when we're having them. All these absolutes, always escape to, like, if you are stuck with your family in this kind of period, it reflects the fact that you have nowhere else to escape to. So
you're right. I would advise that in situations, you know, like getting confrontational about these things, especially when you don't have the option to just leave, or when you have, you know, the fact you have a kind of very caustic and somewhat cruel family dynamic where you have parents who can easily just throw you out and say, you know what, get the fuck out of my house and don't come back. It's important to know where you come from and know how to endure during this period.
What will work for you.
It's nice to escape. It's also nice to find a way in, to burrow in, to dig in, to know how. I mean, this period is actually a period, an opportunity where some people in some families can use to start working acceptance and tolerance through their family members.
So that's our episode for today. Until come your way next time, I'm Chidizi.
And I'm Walter.
Stay safe. Use your hand sanitizers. Wash your hands. This feels hypocritical to say, but maintain social distancing. I'll be observe social distancing. Bye.